Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unnext News Radio podcast, your news source for all things unexplained. And now, here's your host for the Unnext News podcast, Margie K.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Unnext News. We're here on a Friday evening, the day after Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving. We certainly did at my house, and we're going to continue that again tonight with another part of the family as soon as this show is over. So I think everything is great, and I just love our new Unnext family. Oh my gosh, we have some fantastic shows on the Unnext network. And thank you so much, Race. Just want to say thank you again for putting together such a good lineup for us. So I want to run over just a couple of things before we get rolling with our show tonight. This is my latest book, Winged Aliens. Now, this is a little bit different. It's a little bit strange, but I'm telling you, there is a correlation between aliens and winged creatures that are being seen all over the U.S., in fact, all over the world. And I've just compiled a set of experiences that people have had, creatures that have been seen, and even a few photos and drawings of these things, and mine included. So I won't tell you any more about that. You'll have to read the book. Go to unexmedia.com to see more information about that book and my others. But I also want to mention that we brought back Unnext magazine, and we just did an issue in October, and we'll be doing another one in January. And welcome to our new managing editor, Lee Spiegel. That's going to be great. Lee is fantastic. He's got a wonderful reputation, and I know he's going to do a great job with the magazine. Then finally, I want to mention this is the latest book that was published by Unnext News, Unnext Media, The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways by Debbie Ziegelmeyer. Debbie is the director of the Underwater Research and Recovery Team for International MUFON. She's also the state director for Missouri, and I am the ASD for Missouri, so she and I work together a lot, and we're very close friends, and she has written a fantastic book. I am not kidding. This is phenomenal. So again, unexmedia.com, or go to amazon.com for any of these books. My guest this evening is Christi Clemons Hoffman. She is the PRS Radio Guest of the Year. That's the Psychic Research Society. She's a lifelong intuitive channel teacher and consultant whose passion is connecting people with their spiritual team using a unique blend of angel readings, medical intuition, mediumship, and Akashic Records. Christi helps clients with questions about their spiritual growth, unlocking answers to questions about life purpose, past lives, health, relationships, and more. Using Reiki techniques along with her intuitive abilities, Christi also helps clients get to the source of physical and emotional discomfort. Reiki is a powerful tool to clear these blockages in the body's energetic and auric bodies. Clients say they feel lighter and able to be optimistic after just one session. Christi is also certified at level 3 in QHHT, which is Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, as developed by Delores Cannon, one of only 30 level 3 practitioners in the world. This form of healing works with the higher self or the subconscious to discover past lives that have a bearing on the client's current life. It also provides direct communication with the subconscious, which can scan and heal the body and give the client direction to gain greater understanding, achieve goals, and answer long-held questions. QHHT can only be done in person. Welcome to the program, Christi.
It is so, hi there. It's so good to see you. It's so good to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's good to see you again. I actually saw you for the first time in 2019 at a local meeting here in Kansas City, put on by the Psychic Studies Institute. And I was so impressed with you. I had to meet you, and actually you had me on your podcast.
I did have you on my podcast. Absolutely. Yeah, I've been stalking you for a while, Margie.
Well, I'm stalking you now. So thank you for being on the show today. I am just thrilled to have you on because you do so much. And last week, my show was about Delores Cannon. So I thought, geez, I need to get one of her practitioners on. And I'm so glad you could join me because we have a lot to talk about. And one of the things I want to get to is people that you've worked with that have had UFO experiences. So we'll talk about that too. But kind of, I just gave an overview of what you do, but how long have you actually been practicing this type of work?
In general, about 10, 11 years. Now, the QHHT, I've only been doing 5 years. And 16, 5 years. And then I've been a QHHT level 3 practitioner for over a year.
Okay. What does it take to become, first of all, a QHHT practitioner? And then what are the different levels?
Yeah, the different levels, there's level 1, which you can practice when you're trained. When you first train, you take your level 1 training and then you can go out and practice. And then level 2, you can do that when you, I think, have 50 sessions. Don't quote me on that. I think it's changed fairly recently. And then level 3, you can do that when you've had 150 sessions. And then you go through extensive training as well, one-on-one with a coach to hopefully conduct sessions just like Dolores did. That's the goal.
What got you interested in this type of hypnosis?
Well, it was interesting. My husband and I had split up, and I was just devastated, absolutely devastated. I knew that there had to be bigger answers and greater truths. And so I started Googling karma, past lives, et cetera, and came across Dolores. And I thought, you know what, I think that's going to help my situation here. It's going to answer some things for me. And so I made some calls down to Dolores's office. This was back in 2009. So this is such a long time ago. And her people said, well, she's booked up for the next 4 years. And I thought, well, I was hoping to get in before that. And anyway, I was able to find a practitioner here in Kansas City and was able to have a session then. But it had always been in the back of my mind. I just thought, that is the most remarkable practice. It can do so much. And then when I was laid off from Hallmark in 2015, I just said, I'm going to pursue this. I'm going to start doing this because I've just been fascinated ever since.
So what exactly is the QHHT method? How is it different from standard hypnosis?
Well, in clinical hypnosis, it's all one-sided. It's one way. So I also practice clinical hypnosis. And so in clinical hypnosis, which is the weight loss, the smoking cessation, anxiety, that type of thing, phobias and fears. So we start off with a dialogue about, okay, well, what are your triggers? How long has this been going on? What habits do you want to eliminate? What behaviors do you want to replace it with? That type of thing. And then I work from a standard script, just a script where the client is relaxed, focused, and listening to the script. And then I send a recording of the script with the client to listen to many times afterward. But it's all one-sided. QHHT is a dialogue. So the practitioner is asking questions as they go. There's a formal induction, and the induction is kind of lengthy. And after the induction, we go wherever the client's going to go. A past life could be a concurrent life, could be what we would consider a future life, an alternate life. We just don't know. The possibilities are so open. And so they go to wherever they're going to go. And I start asking questions, lots of questions. Are you physical? Do you feel male or female? Are you young or old? Look down and tell me if you see your feet. What do you have on your feet? What are your surroundings? Is it day? Is it night? So it's very interactive. And so each of the client's answers leads the practitioner to ask more and different questions. So it gets a lot more in depth than any type of clinical hypnosis ever could.
So does the client remember everything when they come out of the hypnosis?
No, not usually. No. I will often ask, how much of that do you remember? Sometimes clients will say, oh yeah, I remembered everything. But then when I ask them, they say, yeah, no, I didn't remember that. I don't remember that. And so we think we remember a lot more than we did. But it's very rare that clients don't remember absolutely anything. And I've had that happen twice, where they wake up and they said, I have no idea what happened. But that's kind of unusual. And some clients really do remember everything they said, everything they experienced. So everybody's different.
So I assume that you record the session so that they can review it later.
Yes, it's very, very important for them to listen to it afterward, because we're hearing these truths, especially when we get to the portion of the session when we're speaking directly to the subconscious. We are hearing these beautiful answers coming out of our own mouths. And so having a recording of that, it just really compounds the healing, because people are saying, oh my gosh, that I actually said that came out of me. I don't know where it came from. So yeah, it's really important to listen to the recording afterward. And Dolores always made sure that everybody got the recording and knew the importance of listening to it, because it just puts you right back in that healing space where you're getting that healing all over again. You're hearing your answers all over again, and you're reliving that experience. Yeah, it is super important to do that. And I have to say, it's important for clients to do their own work afterward. So they're going to hear from their higher selves about, hey, you need to incorporate this that you learned from a past life. You need to address this in your life, make some changes. And it is important for the client to go back and actually make those changes and do the work.
So for people who are not aware of what the higher self is, can you give us a short explanation?
Yeah, that's
if there is such a thing.
Short explanation. That's a great question. So Dolores called it the subconscious, which at her time was probably a pretty accurate description, but it is not what psychologists today would call it in terms of the subconscious. But what it is, the higher self, as she works with it in this method, it's the consciousness that's just behind our waking consciousness. It's the higher self. It's our soul. You could call it that too. But it's connected to everything else. So it's connected to the universe. It's like our little piece of that higher consciousness and how it directs our personal lives. So I've even seen some clients, when we're calling in their subconscious and asking questions, then there might be different tonalities and almost different voices coming through to answer all of the various questions, because our subconscious is made up of so many different parts. But it is the part of us that calls our shots, right? Mm-hmm. It's the part of us that knows us lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, knows what we want to accomplish, knows our records, the Akashic Records that is, and knows everything that we're wanting to do and what our agreements are. So it's the part of us that is really, it's the greater part of us, you could call it that.
How long does a session usually last?
Well, that's a good question too, because sessions last, we advertise 4 to 6 hours, between 4 to 6 hours. I tell people, just make sure you've got the day cleared.
Yeah.
Because 4 to 6 hours, but it can go longer. I've had it go up to 8.5 hours before.
Oh my.
But I have to stress that only part of that is the hypnosis part. So the hypnosis part is about 2 hours. And we find that more than 2 hours goes by and it's hard to wake you up. We get kind of stiff and cranky and just really too drowsy to be functioning afterwards. So about 2 hours is really good. Now, the rest of the time, we spend talking about the client's life. Who the main people are. What are the main events? What are your fears or phobias? What health concerns are there? traumas, but also the questions, because people can bring questions to the session. Anything that you would want to ask of your higher self. What understanding can I gain about relationships? What are my next steps? What's my path? What's my purpose? Can I receive healing for X, Y, and Z? How do I move forward in this certain part of my life? So we can come with about 10 to 12 questions is a good amount of questions to come with. And then sometimes people come with like 2-3 pages of written questions. But once we go through them, it's really only about 5 asked in a bunch of different ways. Hope that helps.
We lost you a couple of times there just for a second. Hopefully everything will keep on working okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Good. We have been having some technical issues. Lord.
Yeah. Well, we're connected at the moment. You know, I've already got some questions.
Oh, fantastic.
So let's just dive in a little bit. We've got, can you do UFO abductions? So I assume that means UFO abductees. What can you tell us about that? Yes.
In fact, it's really effective for that. I've seen people reliving abductions they've had, watch them or kind of listen to their description of being pulled out through a wall or pulled out through their ceiling or going up in a tractor beam. Oh my gosh, yes. Now, Dolores, when she first started doing this work, well, first of all, she started with her husband, Johnny, just doing the clinical stuff, smoking, weight loss, anxiety, that type of thing. But one time they were working with a client, and the client spontaneously went to a past life. And they had no idea what to do with this because nobody was really talking about this. It was the late 60s, early 70s. And apart from Bridie Murphy, people were not talking about past lives. This client, they worked with her many, many times, and she went to many different past lives. But after she'd been doing this a while, well, there's a lot more to the story. I'm going to abbreviate the story. But after she'd been doing that for a while, she really got to be known for past lives. But then somebody asked her, I know somebody who's had an alien possible abduction experience. Do you think you can help recover that memory? She said, hey, let's try. Let's see what happens. And it turns out that her technique was very successful. And she did countless sessions with people recovering these memories. In fact, that turned into the book, The Custodians, and then Keepers of the Garden, and then the Convoluted Universe series. She did a lot of work with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very, very effective.
Now, have you done very many sessions with people who have had abduction experiences?
I've done probably about 20 to 25, not as many as Dolores did.
Right, but that's enough to kind of get a sense of what's going on. So with that in mind, do you have any theories as to what these experiences are? I mean, are they really being abducted by extraterrestrials, or what is it?
Right. Yeah. So that gets to be interesting. And for me, my jury is out. Yeah, I do have my theories, but I'm not going to know until it actually happens. So I do believe that many of us are followed. Many of us are tracked. And if you've had one UFO encounter, you've probably had a dozen UFO encounters, that they tend to select people that they want to work with and want to observe and want to follow. And so as far as are they physically taken? Yeah, I do think that they are. And it's hard to understand how that actually happens. But in sessions, they describe being lifted through some sort of beam and then being pulled through a window, through a wall, through a roof of their house, or just on the ground and then being pulled up in a beam of light. Now, I know, Margie, you've had some cases of people who've had encounters with these types of beams of light. And I'm not sure what's in the, yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not sure what's in that light, but it seems to be doing a lot of the work. Now, In some of these sessions, they're observed, they're checked, that fluids are taken, temperatures are taken, they're poked and prodded and that type of thing, and then they're returned back to their life. So as far as the purpose of that, it's kind of interesting.
Do any of your clients, the ones who have had these experiences, have they ever said that it has been a negative experience, or do they think it's a positive experience?
Overwhelmingly positive. Only one was negative, and it did involve people in olive uniforms. Didn't really understand what they represented, but they seemed to be American and possibly military, and that was a negative experience. But the rest has been positive to neutral, where it's an experience and I wasn't harmed by it, but it was more neutral.
Okay. So have any of these people said that they've been healed by these beings?
By the beings, it's usually the higher self, the subconscious, as Dolores called it, that does the healing. So while I believe that our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters can do this, I do see the higher self doing the healing. I haven't yet seen our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters actually doing the healing.
Okay.
Yet.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk afterwards. I'll tell you about a couple of my experiences with that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I know you've got a couple.
Yeah. I've got another comment question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else tried to use Cannon's approach, could not get me under. Does she think that she could get me under?
Oh yeah, I love my left brain clients.
Yeah.
So there are. I won't share my tricks for left brain clients, but I've got some tricks.
You got some tricks up your sleeve.
I got some tricks up my sleeve. I've done about 300 sessions, and there were only 2 that truly felt that they couldn't get. Well, one really just got nowhere at all. He was blocked, but it's many times it's the client blocking themselves. But even the other one who felt he didn't get very far, he still went back into the current lifetime and relived an experience that was really helpful and healing for him. But it was the current life. But yeah, no, I've got ways.
All right. You have your ways. I've got another question. Can hypnosis help someone to stop smoking?
Well, it can, of course. But with any type of smoking cessation, you really have to want to do it. Now, we typically do smoking cessation with something like clinical hypnosis. And it can be addressed in QHHT as well. But you do have to really, really want to quit. And it is essential to listen to the recording again. And just know that healing is being done. And then we can also clean up the body from the effects of tobacco. I've seen that happen as well.
So on this healing theme, how does QHHT help? Are you contacting the higher self, and the higher self would do the healing for any type of healing that's needed?
I've seen all kinds of things healed, Margie. I mean, all kinds of things. So I've seen hips, shoulders, knees, just immediately healed afterward. A woman came in one time limping. One of her legs was shorter than the other, and she walked out straight. I've seen cancer resolved. I hate to say healed for that, but I have seen it resolved. So yeah, I've seen all kinds of things. If it's in the client's highest and best good, and they want that healing, and then yeah, the subconscious can do that. But it's funny, they do it in so many different ways. Sometimes it's light. They bring light in to clear it out. Sometimes they talk about, we're scrubbing it. We're just going to scrub it away. One time, this woman had a condition of the sacral chakra, and she said that there were wild horses trampling that area, and then it just blows away. And I said, that's awesome. Wild horses, and it's blowing away. So you never know what the subconscious is going to do, but I always trust it. and the healing can be amazing. Oh, one time I had a client came in and she had this situation with her salivary glands where her neck was incredibly swollen. You could see it. And it was practically just like she practically had no neck. Like from the jawline to the shoulders, it was all this big swelling. And after her session, when she came out, the right side was almost completely back to normal. And then over the next few days, the other side went back down too.
Wow.
And, you know, the subconscious really can do these things. It's all energy. And when we've got something in our body that needs to be healed, it's because we're carrying energy. We've got an energy block somewhere. And yeah, over time, it will show up on an x-ray or in a blood test or something like that. But it always starts with energy. It starts with our thoughts and beliefs and our emotions. And so, yeah, the subconscious can come in and just reset everything.
So now with your training,
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to use it for yourself, do you hypnotize yourself or do you go to someone else who does it?
I would go to someone else. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really can't do it for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good question.
And I'm wondering, and this is a question from me, the people that you've hypnotized that have had contact with aliens, or do they tell the people where they're from? Do they say they're from another planet or another dimension? What did they say?
No, because they're in the moment. They're in that lifetime in the moment when they go to a lifetime where they are from another planet, from another dimension, that they're another type of being. So I'm talking first specifically about lifetimes that we've had off planet. And there are many of us had, if not most, have had lifetimes off planet. And it's kind of like asking a fish to tell you what ocean it's in. They have no idea because they're just in it. So I just go from descriptions, describe your body, what kind of clothing are you wearing? Tell me about the buildings that you notice around you. Tell me about your surroundings. And if they're in a lifetime where they're off planet, I don't know that it's terribly, terribly important to know where that is or what race they are. We just want to know, what are they carrying forward? What do they need to heal from that lifetime? What do they need to know about that lifetime? Now, in terms of the beings, or in terms of clients who have had abduction experiences, in those sessions, again, they're not going to be able to know what the name of the race is unless they're told, which it's not yet happened, but I'm sure it can happen. But again, I'll just ask, well, what do these beings look like? Can you describe one? Can you tell me what they're wearing? Tell me about your surroundings. And so we can go from there. Again, I don't know that it's all that necessary to know exactly what they are in terms of what the name of the race is, but more of the descriptions. Now, I will tell you, I've been working on a very interesting project, and that is to find out about different alien races. And I've done several research sessions to do that and learn that. So we've gone through the Galactic Federation to find out what races are in the Galactic Federation and descriptions of many of the most known races.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That very interesting work. I wonder if any of the people you've spoken to, or as they're regressed and they're thinking about or observing one of these past lives they've had on off planet somewhere, did they ever get a sense of what their purpose is on this planet right now in this current lifetime?
Yeah, well, and I should probably say that and most of us have had experiences off planet, lifetimes off planet, and that's separate from what we live here. When we come down to Earth, it's to explore what that density feels like, it looks like, how emotions and free will work in this type of environment, because this type of environment we have here on Earth is very different. We do have free will. We do have, this kind of clunky communication. It's not instantaneous. It's not telepathic type of communication. We are disconnected. And so it's kind of like coming to a school or a lab, right? Where we come and we put these things into practice and understand what they're about. Now, a lot of people who who have had experiences off planet, though, will come specifically now to Earth at this time to watch us go through this evolution we're going through right now. Many of them have been through this on other planets. They have seen the destruction of their own planets and came to find a different place to be. But many of us are here just to usher us in. I will say that some too are watchers. I don't know if you've ever encountered that, but some of us come here just to observe and to report back, or just to come and watch and make sure that everything's going the way it's supposed to go. And they've had experiences in all kinds of different time frames, all kinds of different planets, where their job is just to watch and observe. So I've had many of those, actually.
Yeah, I've run into some people myself that suspected that.
Yeah,
watchers.
Yeah, it's quite a thing just to.
And they feel, these people feel like they don't belong here so much. I've had a lot of people tell me that they look up at the sky at night and they wonder where they're from because it's not from here. Do you run into that?
All the time. All the time. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dolores's book, The 3 Waves of Volunteers.
I haven't read that one.
Yes, she talks about specifically 3 waves. I think we're finding there's more waves. I've counted 4, and some other practitioners have counted 5 waves. But just different waves of people who volunteered to be here at this time, beginning, depending on who you ask, beginning in the late 40s. Some people say the mid to late 60s. But yeah, a lot of people are here and just feel like, don't know where home is, but this is not it. And a lot of people have watched that movie Avatar with the big blue beings and the beautiful flowers and everything, and just pined for that world. And it's even called post-Avatar syndrome, where people say, I don't know what that is, but that's where I belong. That's where I need to be. And incidentally, many people who have lifetimes on other planets, they'll describe the colors. They describe, it's like the sky is these pink and yellow and blue, and everything they're just colors I don't have names for. Everything is so vibrant. So that's kind of interesting, especially when many different people who don't even know each other are describing many of the same things. Multiple moons, multiple suns, that kind of thing.
I've heard that too, that there are more colors in other places than what people experience in the human body, but they experience more color.
Right. Yeah, because with our physical eyes, we're kind of limited by how many colors we can perceive. So I believe the colors are all around us, but we can't necessarily believe it, or we can't necessarily perceive it, rather. And then in other dimensions, there's even, more dimensions to hold that color vibration. So it's just interesting.
Do any of your clients ever say that, or when they're under hypnosis, that their family members are also involved in, well, let's say, being from other planets, or with the ETs that are coming to abduct and then take them back? Is that something that their family members experience, or do they know that?
I have not encountered it. I have encountered many people will say that, oh, this person who's in my other lifetime, that's my husband now, or that's my brother now, right? So they'll describe it in those terms. But I've heard that people who tend to get abducted or have interesting alien encounters, many times their family members will also, and it can tend to run in families. I have not specifically encountered that in hypnosis. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but in my sessions, I have not encountered that.
Right. This is just fascinating, and I would love to be a fly on the wall watching some of these sessions. Just to see the information that comes through. The past life connection, that part of it really fascinates me. How important is that to a person understanding something that say they've got a problem now that was actually caused by something that happened in a past life? How important is it for them to know about that? And does that help them in the healing process now?
Oh, it helps 100%. Because if we live our life and we deal with all of our emotions, we deal with any forgiveness that we need to do, we harm no one, but then all of our experiences, they're lived, they're understood, and they're put away. But if we have a traumatic death, for example, where we don't get to resolve the fear, the anger, what have you, or if we live our life in such a way to where we harm others, or we just don't forgive, or we hold on to things, those are the type of things that we'll have a chance to come back and rectify. So it is extremely helpful to have an understanding of a pertinent past life. Now, we've had so many that we couldn't possibly fit them all into one session. So the higher self, once we make the commitment to have a session and do this work, then the higher self, the subconscious, starts rifling through our records to find the most pertinent lifetimes for us to experience. And then we might experience maybe up to 3 during the hypnosis session. But sometimes people will do what we call leapfrogging, where instead of moving to an important day in the current lifetime, then they're off to another life. And so they may leapfrog around different lifetimes and see snippets of different lives that would have an impact currently. And that would be why we would want to do that work, as a matter of fact. Now, sometimes people don't go to what we would consider a past life. They will go to the current lifetime and relive certain scenes that they needed to understand. Maybe they didn't have the maturity or the wisdom to understand it when they were younger, but we'll go back and then reobserve that just to have the full impact of it. Sometimes people don't even go to another lifetime at all. They go to between dimensions or between lives, where they experience colors, shapes. They experience maybe some loved ones. Something that's fairly common is just to see an eyeball.
Really?
Right. Yeah. That is more common than you would think. Just a large eye in front of them. And it's the idea. Finally, somebody in their session was able to explain what that was. It was just being watched, being looked at, being observed, and knowing that we're being watched and observed. And if
the
we
all-seeing eye.
The all-seeing eye, exactly, the eye of God, or what have you. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if they go to that place where there's colors, I just call it the place of colors, where there's the colors, there's the different dimensions, there's shapes, and maybe some symbols, and maybe an eyeball. That's healing too, where people will get what they need. I had one client. She went to that place with the colors, and they started swirling around her. She started turning counterclockwise amidst all of these colors, and then she started turning clockwise amidst all of the colors. And then when she came out, that's the one who walked in with a limp and walked out with no limp. She had some major work done when she was in colors. It was all yellow and purple. It was swirling all around her, and they were twisting her in different ways, calibrating her, healing, clearing. I'm not sure what they were doing, but she walked out with some pretty profound healing. I never doubt what happens.
Awesome. Now, I know I was hypnotized years ago and experienced some past lives. And one of the things I know helped me, because up to that point, I had this terrible aversion to teaching children, not adults, but teaching children, and farming. And every time we drive by a farm and I'd see farm equipment, I could not stand to be near it. But that session, I saw what happened. I was a school teacher. I was a young woman, just got engaged to somebody, and I was actually at the schoolhouse with these children there, and this piece of farm implement machinery, it has these long hooky tines on it.
Like a baler or something.
Fell over on me and killed me.
Oh.
And so that's that was the connection to the teaching, the kids, and my fiance was right there, and this farm machinery.
See.
So, and then after that, no, I didn't have a problem with those things anymore. Just seeing it.
Once we have that awareness, then we're like, oh, okay, well, I don't need that anymore. That has no relevance to me now. But you see, this is a death. Well, I'm sure there was a lot of fear and no time to resolve that fear.
Right. It was instant death.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I had a client who came in because of migraines. She had near daily migraines and they were just debilitating. She couldn't work. She couldn't take care of her family. It was just awful. In fact, she came in the first time with a migraine and we didn't get very far because she was just in so much pain. She had to come back. And when she did, she went to a lifetime where she was a paper boy in a big city, had a big bag of newspapers that she was hawking, or he, I suppose you could say. It's like an 8 or 9-year-old kid was hawking newspapers. And I said, well, what's in the news today? And she said, oh, it's all bad news. Everybody's depressed. Nobody's got jobs. Nobody's got any money. Things are really bad. So we went to her home where she lived and at the time, and there was a mother and father and a little baby sister. And I said, well, why aren't your parents at work? She said, oh, yeah, nobody's got any work. Well, can they get a job? No, nobody's hiring. Nobody's got any jobs. This was the only person in a family of 4 who was bringing in any money whatsoever. What's interesting is that when we first got to that lifetime, she described a broken bicycle on the sidewalk. Well, we moved past that because I wanted to know more about her life. But when I tried to move her to an important day to find out more about that life, she kept going back to the bicycle. She couldn't get past it. And so finally I had an idea and I said, okay, so where's your body? She said, oh, it's on the ground too. And I said, well, where are you watching this from? She said, oh, I'm above it. I'm looking down at everything. So I knew that she had died. And so when I brought her out, she said, oh, I saw the whole accident. She said, it hit me right here in the head. There was this blinding flash and it was over. And I said, well, that's interesting. Well, where do your migraines start? And she said, yeah, right here. So she had the trauma plus death. She didn't have time to resolve it. She was worried to death about her family and a lot of fear of what's going to happen to them. In fact, after watching her death, I tried to move her around a little bit to find out what happened to her body. And she tried to go to the funeral and nobody could pay attention to her. She tried going to watch the boys play empty lot baseball and nobody knew she was there. So she stuck around for a while out of this fear for her family. So whenever she started to feel a migraine coming on and had the aura and everything, she started talking to the little boy and just said, hey, you're safe now. Everybody's fine. Everybody's okay. You're good now. You don't have to worry about them. And then her migraine would leave. So just having that awareness and releasing that fear and releasing that anxiety about it. That's healing.
That's amazing. I have got some more questions in the chat for you. This is from R&R. I am embarrassed to ask this, but can hypnosis help turn off psychic abilities? That would be great.
Oh, I never recommend turning off psychic abilities because that energy, well, first of all, it's natural and normal. We're all born with psychic abilities. Now, we can either choose to use them or lose them. We can either choose to develop them or not develop them. And yeah, we can work with them or we can decide to turn them off. If we turn them off, that energy has to go somewhere. It's like you've got a garden hose and you kink the garden hose. Eventually, something's going to blow out because that water is not turned off. So that energy has to go somewhere, and it can go to depression. It can go to anxiety. It can go to many things. So I would much rather work with someone on how to enhance these abilities and work with them and trust them. Now, if there are aspects of yourself or there are spirits in your house or something that are bothering you, that's another conversation. But I would not recommend turning that off.
I agree totally with you on that. I think it's best to develop it rather than hinder it.
Absolutely. And it's like singing. You know, we're all born with the ability to sing. We open our mouth and sound comes out. Now, some of us are more naturally gifted at singing than others. And then we can also take lessons and work hard and develop it.
And
So
learn how to control things.
yeah, absolutely. Now, sometimes we turn these things off because someone else tells us, "Oh, that's frightening me, that's scary, that's not normal, that's not natural," or that grandma's not really there. Stop talking about it. So we can get these messages to turn it off from all over the place, but I don't recommend it.
Okay. Now let's talk about your practice now for a minute. This Radiate Wellness, and you work with some other practitioners. What's that all about?
So we're a community of healers and consultants. We've got 4 practitioners. 2 of us are in the Kansas City area. One is in Geneva, Switzerland, and then the 4th one is in California. But doing what we do, we can do just about everything online anyway. The only thing that we cannot do online is QHHT, and I'm the one who practices that. So we come to my office here in Prairie Village, Kansas, but everything else we can practice online. We're at radiatewellnesscommunity.com, so you can hear about everything we're doing. Everything we've got going on.
What are some of the things that you do?
Some other things that we do. So personally, I do readings, Reiki, and regression. So medical intuitive, I'm Reiki master. I do all types of readings, then plus QHHT and clinical hypnosis. Kathy is an energy worker. She does just about every kind of energy work that you can imagine, and she's really good. And then Mary Jane is in Switzerland, and she does tarot and astrology. She teaches astrology. In fact, Mary Jane's going to be offering a course in beginning astrology beginning in the new year in January. And then Melissa's our newest practitioner, and she's a health and life coach. And she tends to focus on moms and who are feeling overwhelmed and stressed and really just want to make some changes in their lives. So yeah, we all work together pretty well. And could I put a plug for a workshop I have coming up Sunday?
Oh, absolutely. Please do.
Wonderful. I am doing a workshop that I'm calling Your Soul's Journey. It's a group QHHT session. Now, I know I said that QHHT must be practiced in person. However, group sessions can be done online. Group sessions, I'm guiding the entire group through. It's a slightly different script, but I'm guiding everybody through to go to a past life and wherever it is. And because it's a group session, I can't ask each individual, look at your feet. Do you see your feet? What are your surroundings? So I talk everybody through it and guide them through a pertinent past life. Then we journal about it and share, and then we go to a potential future life. So something that hasn't been written yet, but given our karma, what we're working on, what we're carrying, what could be. And then again, I guide everybody through it. We journal about it, and we come back and share. So that's coming up Sunday. This Sunday, what's today? The 26th. So it's going to be the 28th, and it's going to be at noon, and it's like a 2.5-hour session. And you can sign up for it at radiatewellnesscommunity.com, and it's $40, but you can apply that $40 to a private session.
Okay.
These are
And
fun.
I know the group session works because when you did that at the Kansas City event, you did a quick session, and everybody in the room went under and went back. And I mean, I know I did. I saw some things I was surprised to see. So you're very good at what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I've been working on it. So yeah, these are great sessions. So you get to see your whole trajectory of your soul too. So you get to see a past life, knowing what the present life is like, and then a potential future life. So we talk about having a life purpose, but we also have a soul purpose. And so sometimes we'll see just how we're developing and what the arc of that soul purpose might be.
Interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Got some more comments in here, but I'm not going to say all of them. The thing that I'm wondering also is, how did you get interested in going down this path? Because I'm sensing that you were a child when you started noticing things that other people weren't seeing. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My dad tells a story of he was a night watchman at I don't know, you probably know it, Southeast High School here in Kansas City over by Swope Park. Big, huge high school. He was a night watchman there, and I was a baby. My mom was an x-ray tech, so she worked nights, and he was in college, my dad was, and so he'd take me and his college books and my playpen, and we'd go stay up, or I would sleep, and he would, do his night watchman thing at the high school. And one night I stood up on my playpen, and I was just babbling, and I waved. I said, "Hi, Mr. Man," and was talking to somebody there. Now, according to my dad, he said he quit the next day. I don't know about that, but it freaked him out for sure. And all kinds of strange things. Seeing more ghosts when I was about 10. Waking up and my pajamas would be on inside out. My head would be down at the foot of my bed. All kinds of crazy stuff. But so it's always right. You've probably heard that kind of story before.
Yes, I've heard that story before. And so as you progress through life, do things increase? Do you get more intuitive? Do you see more?
Well, yeah, these are great questions, Margie. Yeah, I had no idea what to do with this stuff. I was fascinated and interested, but you have to understand, I grew up in Overland Park, which if you're in Kansas City, it's a pretty suburban area. I learned pretty quick, you don't talk about that stuff at school because everybody would think you're crazy, which they kind of did. I was the weird kid. And being in the 70s, that was just not okay. I think now it could be a lot more accepted, but it was not cool. But more so, I just had no idea what to do with it. And I was always interested in karma, reincarnation, past lives, ghosts, UFOs, interested in all of that stuff, but had no idea that you could do anything with it. So again, it wasn't until my marriage fell apart when I really started exploring. Full disclosure, I went for a QHHT session after I called Dolores's office, and they told me she was booked for 4 years. They said there's probably somebody in your town that studied with her because she's just started teaching people. So I did. I found somebody who was practicing here in Kansas City. My husband and I both went. Neither one of us got very far. Turns out he wasn't doing the method as Dolores taught it. Oh. But I didn't get very far. And he said, well, that doesn't happen very often, but if it does, then he had somebody he could refer me to. And this was, I don't know if you know her, but Gail Larmer. Gail is
a very good friend of mine.
She is a dear. And so I went to her for a reading. She told me a bunch of stuff about karma and past lives. And it was amazing. And she started teaching classes, and I started taking all of her classes and found out that I did have a knack, a gift, a talent, whatever you would call it, for doing this and connecting. Mm-hmm. And it came very, very naturally. So started off with the reading aspect of it. She did a class on contacting ETs, I believe it was. She did, all of the classes she was teaching, mediumship, angels, all kinds of stuff. Taking all of her classes, and then added the Akashic Records. I found another person who was teaching that, and then was meeting a lot of people in this world here in Kansas City, and found out that there's a lot. Yes. Oh my gosh! And found out that most people had learned Reiki, so I studied Reiki 1 and 2, and then Reiki Master, and then like I said, about 5 years ago, I just said, you know what? I could be learning QHHT. Why not?
There you go.
I haven't looked back.
And this is the heart of the dove, so we're all kind of congregating here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff, Christi. thank you so much for being on the program. Would you let everybody know one more time how to get in touch with you about your workshop and how they can contact you for a hypnosis session?
Absolutely. You can do all of that at radiatewellnesscommunity.com. You just go to the events tab and you'll see the Soul's Journey event. Click on the links there to register. And then you can also either fill out the contact form to get in touch with me, or I'm the person who checks the Radiate Wellness KC at Gmail email. So you can email me there at radiatewellnessKC at Gmail. And if I could put one more quick plug, I know we're just about out of time. I just launched a new podcast called Real Life Angel Encounters. This is real people with real stories of angelic encounters and mysterious loved one visits, that kind of thing. And if you are interested in that, it's out there now. Search for Real Life Angel Encounters. And you can email your angel encounters to angelencounterspodcast@gmail.com to be on the show.
All right. That's fascinating stuff. Christi, thank you so much. I hope you'll come back again sometime.
Oh, I hope so too. Thank you so much, Margie. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. This is Margie K, and we'll see you here again next week.
You've been listening to the UNX News Podcast with Margie K. Any rebroadcast or duplication of this program or its content without express written permission from UNX Media or Margie K herself is strictly prohibited. The UNX News Podcast, in direct cooperation with the internet website unxmedia.com.